The night the millionaire's daughter nearly stopped breathing, the house finally admitted what everyone had been avoiding. The walls that gleamed with wealth felt cold and hollow, the kind of silence that presses on your chest. Doctors had come and gone, medicines had failed, prayers had been whispered into silk pillows, and still the child kept fading. No one suspected that the truth was waiting in the darkest place of her room, unseen and ignored right beneath her bed. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a moment if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet heroes the world often overlooks. Please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope. Comment your thoughts and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still hurting. The girl was 8 years old, born into privilege that could buy almost anything except peace. Her father, a self-made millionaire, had built an empire. Out of discipline and sleepless nights, but success had cost him his marriage and most of his time. The mansion was staffed and spotless, filled with soft carpets and expensive art, yet it never felt warm. The child had grown up watched by cameras and caretakers, measured by schedules and medical charts, while her father chased deals across time zones. When she began getting sick, everyone assumed it was another mystery illness money could eventually solve. It started small, with headaches that lingered too long, fevers that came and went, and a tiredness no child should carry. Then came nausea, night sweats, and sudden fainting spells that sent the household into panic. Specialists were flown in. Tests were repeated until the girl's arms bruised. Diagnoses changed weekly. Anxiety, autoimmune disorder, rare infection. Nothing held. The father stood helpless in hospital corridors, staring at glass walls, realizing that for all his power, he could not protect the one person who mattered. The nanny arrived quietly, hired after the previous caretakers burned out under stress. Her name barely registered among the staff. Just another background presence in a house used to faces changing. She was older than most nannies, with tired eyes and a gentleness that did not ask for attention. She had raised children before, not in mansions, but in cramped apartments where you learned to notice everything because you had no safety net. From the first night, she sensed something was wrong in a way charts could not explain. She watched how the girl slept restlessly, how her breathing became shallow near dawn, how she always felt worse after long nights in her room. The nanny noticed details others dismissed: the stale smell that clung to the air no matter how often. Windows were opened, the way the child's skin looked gray in the mornings, and slowly recovered as the day went on. It was not magic or instinct alone, but the accumulated wisdom of years spent listening to children who could not fully explain their pain. The father barely noticed the nanny at first. His days were consumed by crisis meetings and whispered phone calls with doctors. When he did look at his daughter, guilt cut through him sharply. He promised her new toys, trips she was too weak to take, and a future he was terrified she might never reach. At night, alone in his office, he stared at old photos and wondered how he had missed the signs for so long. As weeks passed, the girl's condition worsened. One evening, after another hospital visit ended with no answers, the child collapsed in her room, trembling and gasping. Nanny stayed by her side, cooling her forehead, steadying her breathing, refusing to leave even when staff urged her to rest. As the girl drifted into a fragile sleep, the nanny noticed something again. The air near the bed felt heavier, wrong in a way she could not name. The smell was stronger there, faint but unmistakable, like metal and dampness. To ignore it, the nanny knelt slowly, the mansion silent around her. She looked under the bed, expecting nothing more than dust or forgotten toys. What she found made her heart pound. Hidden beneath the bed frame was a small vent opening, partially blocked by stored boxes and thick carpeting, leaking something. Unseen, condensation stained the floor. The air that came from it was cold and sour, carrying a faint chemical scent. The nanny did not hesitate. She moved the boxes, pulled the rug aside, and felt dizzy almost instantly. Panic sharpened her focus. She rushed to open windows, dragged the bed away, and called for help. Alarms followed. Emergency crews arrived, the house filled with noise. An urgency that had been missing for too long. Tests revealed the truth. No doctor had looked for a slow leak from a damaged heating system lying beneath the floor, releasing toxic fumes into the child's room, night after night, while she slept. The poison built up in her body, mimicking illness, stealing her strength. The realization shattered the father. Relief and horror collided inside him. His wealth had wrapped his daughter in comfort, but also sealed her inside a danger no one had questioned. The doctors finally had answers, and with the source removed, the girl began to recover. Slowly at first, then with visible change. Color returned to her cheeks. Her eyes grew brighter. The fever stopped coming. The father watched his daughter laugh again, a sound he feared he had lost forever. Gratitude overwhelmed him, but it came tangled with shame. It had not been his money, his influence, or his authority that saved her. It had been a woman who paid attention, who cared enough to look under a bed when everyone else looked at screens. In reports. In the weeks that followed, the mansion changed. Repairs were made, not just to pipes and vents, but to habits. The father canceled trips. He learned his daughter's routines, her fears, her favorite stories. He sat on the floor of her room listening, as she told him about the nights she felt scared and sick and alone. Each word felt like both forgiveness and a lesson he would never forget. The nanny never asked for recognition. She continued her work quietly, helping the girl regain strength, walking with her in the garden as sunlight replaced sterile air. The child grew attached to her, finding comfort in her steady presence. The father saw this bond and understood. Something that had taken him years to learn: success meant nothing if you ignored the people right in front of you. Near the end of that winter, the girl returned to school, healthier than she had been in months. On her first morning back, she hugged the nanny tightly, a simple gesture that carried the weight of survival. The father stood nearby watching, with eyes full of emotion, knowing his life had been spared from a loss he could never have recovered from. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the smallest acts of care change everything. Before the ending, we have a special request. Please comment below with the words, "I believe in quiet heroes," if you believe that attention, compassion, and presence can save lives. The millionaire never forgot the lesson hidden under that bed. Learn that love is not proven by what you provide, but by what you notice. And in a world obsessed with looking ahead, it was a nanny who looked down into the darkness everyone ignored and brought a child back to the light.